During the Depression of the 1930s, a film was made of one of the most imaginative and successful welfare organizations in the country. It began as a result of a study of the needs of the unemployed in Norwich by the Industrial Christian Fellowship, and the dynamo behind it was Arthur Findlow, who later became ordained. He didn't believe in handouts, which he thought demoralized the men by sapping their self-respect. He did believe in helping them to help themselves. The allotment scheme, largely run by the Quakers and backed by the City Council, was one of the biggest in the country. It enabled unemployed men to pay in weekly during the winter until they reached the target of 15 shillings, 75 pence in today's money, and then a man would be given all the tools he needed and all the seeds for a year's vegetables. The complete kit, including spade, fork and rake, was enough to start a man digging. Women were eligible too. Altogether, 1,200 unemployed worked allotments and gardens rent-free under the scheme. For others, the workshops provided a ray of hope and escape from the street corner and the boredom of unemployment. But here as well, standards were high. If the work wasn't up to scratch, it was destroyed and the job done again. When the men heard that a disabled unemployed man wanted to start a small holding, they built greenhouses for him, free. For others, a homemade wheelbarrow was a practical asset. Local shoemakers taught men how to repair footwear. And a tailor altered hand-out suits for the men free of charge. For more than one man, it meant looking respectable and getting a clerking job. The idea was to keep the unemployed within the normal community, and what better way to do this than sport? The 5 welfare clubs formed a football league, as well as playing ordinary clubs. They played their cup final on the Canaries ground, with the Lord Lieutenant kicking off. In the summer there was cricket, with rent-free pitches provided by the County Cricket Club and City Council. Torquay and Rotary provided transport. For the bowls enthusiasts, the City Council allowed free use of greens. In the club headquarters there were many indoor activities, billiards among the most popular. The first priority of the unemployed men had been a room where they could get away from under their wives' feet. The 45 Club in those days merited a man with a white beard, but these were men whose hope of work was considered negligible. In 1939, it was to prove otherwise. There were far fewer women workers then to swell the ranks of the unemployed, but trouble in the shoe industry and the chocolate factory led to the formation of a girls' club under the leadership of Edith Waterman, a Christian lady still working for the elderly in the 1980s. Weekend camping was another activity. Christmas might have been a particularly depressing time for the unemployed, but the clubs made sure that it wasn't. Apart from parcels of food, they organized Christmas parties for the children and a visit to the pantomime. On one occasion, they couldn't pay for the seats. The farmer in the audience wrote a cheque for the lot. The canteen, run by the men themselves, was the heart of the club. In the winter, a place to get out of the cold. The coal club was a method which allowed men to save in the summer for winter coal, just part of the remarkable organization. The fish club was more immediate. Fish was sold at less than cost to provide at least one high-protein meal a week. A Grimsby fish firm was the regular supplier. An earlier attempt at a soup kitchen had been sabotaged by political opponents with Epsom salts. There were special facilities for the city's blind unemployed, whose chances of work were poor indeed. In their own room they had companionship and conversation and shelter from the cold. A chance at least to get out of the house. Oliver Findlow realized the value of publicity, and the organization's journal went out to members and influential people in the city. In this way, Findlow kept the support of the press, the churches, the city council, and other organizations. A much more sophisticated publication was Wither, a glossy magazine supported by local advertising. This carried messages from the Lord Mayor and illustrated articles of the organisation's activities. Oliver Findlow also enlisted the aid of show business celebrities, and at the height of her fame as a radio star, Nona Wynne came to Norwich at her own expense to open the annual fete and present the prizes. The great day for the Mutual Services Clubs came late in 1938. At the end of a long day during which he declared open the new City Hall, King George VI, with Queen Elizabeth, visited the club headquarters in Pottergate. The royal couple signed a stencil of the club journal, and members of the club were given a close-up view of an early royal walkabout. The visit was planned to last 10 minutes. The King and Queen were there for nearly 45. "We couldn't leave," said the King. "It was all so interesting." It was a triumphant moment for an organisation which had helped the unemployed for a decade. In dozens of different ways it had kept the workers within the community, made them feel unforgotten. During those 10 years, 30,000 people had received help, Oliver Findlow interviewing for 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. Within a year of that royal accolade, the solution to unemployment arrived, catastrophically: the Second World War.